Welcome to the finale for 10 of Swords right here at Comicstorian. The tournament has begun and Apocalypse has found his wife. How is this going to resolve? This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. 10 of Swords is an event that happened in Marvel Comics in which all of the X-Men had to come together to battle against another island. The island of Krakoa, which is where the X-Men are located, and the island of Arakoa were going to go to battle to decide who would conquer the other island, and in order to resolve this, they were called to a tournament in Otherworld by Saturn IX. The tournament is already underway, and it's not what we were expecting, but let's get into the finale of this story. Cable number 6. What remains of the quiet council waits, grumbling at Mr. Sinister's lateness, when finally he leans the door. Sorry I'm late. You were right to send me over there. Now I can tell you what an absolute shit show it is, he tells them. Sinister explains that the mutants of Araco have been at war for 1,000 years. Kate stands. If our people are in danger, let's go back over there and get them back, she shouts. But Sinister shakes his head. You're not listening. Nobody that went over there swinging a sword above their head is coming back. He turns to the others, telling them they should blow up the gate and prepare for an invasion. Krakoa rumbles behind Xavier. Harming the gate is currently not an option, the professor states, and Sinister turns to leave, telling the council that holding the gate could cost them everything. Back in Otherworld, the mutants stand ready. Up first is Cable and Bay to the death. Begin! Saturn IX shouts, and Bay does not hesitate, attacking immediately with her sword. Cable barely gets his blade up before she's beating him back. She screams in rage, bringing her sword down again, and he blocks it, but the force of the blow knocks him to the ground. Energy crackles from the blade throw, throwing Bay back with a scream of pain. Cable moves quickly, prepared to make the killing blow, but he hesitates. Bay is his friend's new wife. It is in that moment of hesitation that allows Bay to knock Cable's feet out from underneath him. He falls into the mud and she's on top of him, pushing his face deep into the muck. He tries to raise his sword, but she grabs his arm, squeezing it until the bones snap. And as she stands ready to deliver the killing blow, Cypher runs over to her. Stop! The kid's beat! He begs of his new wife. Saturn IX looks at them both. I declared that this fight was to the death. However, some deaths are in spirit. You may stay your blade, she says to the group. Araco 18, Krakoa 5. After his arm is wrapped, Cable walks away in defeat, reaching out mentally to his mother and his father. It's tough, but his parents can hear him. They feel his pain. He hangs his head, apologizing for losing. That Krakoa is going to lose the tournament, and a tear falls from his eye. You guys need to prepare for war. They're going to invade, Cable thinks to his parents. And at that time, Saturn IX puts her hand on Cable's shoulder. I tolerated this spying for long enough, she says, snapping her fingers, and the connection between the family is severed. Back over on Krakoa, Scott shouts for his son, falling to his knees, telling his wife that they can't lose him. And Jean tells him, let's go fix this. On Otherworld, Saturn IX prepares for the next match. Gorgon versus the White Sword. You will face me after you make it through my swords, all 100 of them, the White Sword tells Gorgon. The first warrior comes, but Gorgon cuts through him with one blow. 2 and 3 come together, but he slides through them with his blades. They continue to press on, more and more grouped together each time. Gorgon uses his power, but one of the warriors takes his eyes. Send them all! White Sword shouts as he claps. Gorgon stands breathing heavy. Come and die! He bellows as he prepares his blades. The others watch as the warriors continue to fight on. By my count, Gorgon has slain 13 of the White Sword's champions, giving Krakoa a narrow lead of 19 to 18, she tells the group. It is War who then turns to the White Sword, ordering him to finish it. The warrior steps forward, seeing Gorgon covered in blood, swaying from exhaustion, but his sword is still ready. It is over, and when it is done, I will restore you and you will serve me, the White Sword tells Gorgon as he stands before him, but Gorgon shakes his head, readying his own blade. Never! I walk my own path, he gasps. I could impose my will, the White Sword says as he raises his hand. Not over me. So be it. The White Sword snarls as he stabs Gorgon through the chest. The mutant falls as the White Sword turns away from him. That is how a mutant dies, children. Apocalypse rumbles to the group. Saturn IX stands before them. The contest is tied, and she holds up the final cards, but Genesis steps forward. There is no need for theatrics, witch. We know what is to come next. Apocalypse finishes the statement as he readies his blade. The husband and wife step forward towards each other with their weapons. It's a duel fated millennia ago. X-Men number 15. Back over on Krakoa, Jean and Scott are preparing to make their argument. They step before the Quiet Council. On Otherworld, Saturnine sits upon her throne, Shogo curled around her. Genesis and Apocalypse stand in the arena, the final battle between husband and wife to decide the contest of champions. If I am to die, and die at your hands, is it really to be like this, with your face hidden from me behind a mask? Apocalypse questions his wife. Though the mask speaks, Genesis pulls it from her face, telling Apocalypse that she wanted to spare him the shame of remembering who is fit and who is weak. Shall we dance? She asks with a smile, and the two lash out at each other, energy erupting from their swords as the blades all meet. On Krakoa, Jean and Scott fill the council in on what they heard from Cable before the connection was severed. It is Magneto that questions going to get their son during the contest. I am going to go get him, Scott simply states. They explain that Krakoa is losing the contest and that there's nothing that they can do to stop the invasion. Magneto steps forward, asking Scott if he even has a plan. I'd like to take a strike team on a smash and grab to get our people back. We get our people out and then we close the gates for good, he tells the group. To save our people, then close the gates and save our nation. Does that cover it? Magneto asks, and the others discuss the plan, but it is Exodus who questions what happens if Scott fails. Look at me. I'm the mutant who has yet to fail this council. Do you think I'm going to start now? Scott asks. And they continue to discuss it until Scott finally explains that there's no talking him out of it. And Jean raises her hand, stating that she is going as well. And Nightcrawler arrives, raising his hand. With all this talk of swords, I was offended I wasn't invited in the first place, he says with a smile, and Kate nods, raising her own hand. And Shaw points out that they can't lose that many council members. I demand that we vote on this. And that leaving means giving up your seat on the council, he says. The council votes in favor, but Jean is still going. She tells Kurt to stay, that he is the soul of the group. And Kate is pissed when it's pointed out that they're going through one of the gates. But it is pointed out that if they leave the gate open for Scott's strike force, they are leaving Krakoa open for invasion. So it's voted on again that they should close the gate behind them. Xavier apologizes to Scott, but tells him that he can't think of just a few mutants anymore. No matter how much they mean to me, he says, and Scott nods but explains that he is still going because he knows the difference between right and wrong. That's how I was raised, he tells the professor with a smile. On the other world, Genesis and Apocalypse are continuing the final battle. She twists, slashing him across the chest, drawing first blood. While back on Krakoa, Magneto asks Scott, what will you do? The X-Men are heroes. We'll save those who need saving, no matter the cost, Scott tells him. He takes Jean's hand and the two walk out of the chamber. Good boy, Eric whispers. Next to him, Xavier smiles. Meanwhile, over on Otherworld, Genesis steps back, raising her blade. You are wounded and weak, my love. I give you one last kiss. Then I will hear your surrender and welcome you back to your rightful place at my side. She says that she prepares to strike again. She swings the weapon, and Apocalypse blocks her blow, but his sword shatters. Genesis looks at him, demanding that he yields. I will not yield, not to fear, not to doubt, not to love. He snarls, dodging another blow, twisting and snatching Genesis' sword from her hand. He whirls again, slashing her through the stomach. On the ground, she demands that he finish it, but Apocalypse refuses, dropping the blade on the ground with a clatter. I don't want this, he whispers, but Saturnine shakes her head, explaining that things must be settled. So Genesis struggles to her feet, putting the mask back on, energy crackling around her as the dark voice speaks. Settled. Nothing is settled, witch. I am not dead and I have not yielded. Nothing is settled. Excalibur 15. The servants run through the halls of the Starlight Citadel, looking out the windows. The demons of Arakko have arrived. Outside, the mutants of Krakoa have met the enemy in the battlefield. Amidst the battle, Apocalypse stands ready as Genesis steps forward. Her voice is dark, controlled by the power of the mask. She raises her blade, prepared to strike, but lightning cracks from the sky, striking Genesis, bringing a scream of pain. Wolverine and Captain Avalon are there, trying to pull Apocalypse away. She summoned reinforcements. We have to move now, Brian shouts, but Apocalypse shrugs them off, refusing. It is Storm who finally gets through to him. She will not be stunned for long. The storm cloud will not rage forever. Around them, the storm continues to strike, though, holding the army of Arakko at bay. And amidst that destruction, the champions of Arakko sit and wait. It is the White Sword who first stands, ordering his men to leave. We didn't come for a battle, we came for a fight and we won, he tells them. Iska shouts that the warrior is a coward. But finally, she stands. We are down to half a dozen. Let's fight them for sport, she hisses, but Bay suddenly turns and rushes through the enemies, her sword slashing the demons as she runs. What is she doing? Iska questions, but War understands. That specific foolishness is so precious to mortals. She's choosing love over war. With the armies of Arakko attacking, Saturn IX retreats to the Citadel. She leads Shogo into one of the chambers, ordering her servant to give her the box with Captain Britain's shards in it. She dumps the shards onto the floor and begins to put them together like a large puzzle. Back out on the main battlefield, the mutants continue their fight. Now that Apocalypse's old lady's off our tail, I'm tired of running. I say we hold the line and take on a wave. Wolverine snarls as he slashes another demon. Apocalypse throws another blast at the demons before turning and arguing with Captain Avalon about what the end means, when suddenly a blade comes whistling out of the smoke. Apocalypse catches it, but Bay rushes Avalon, slamming him into the ground. Apocalypse turns to attack the woman, but Cypher steps between them. Don't! She's my wife! He begs, and Storm descends, questioning whether Bay will join their side. Of course she wants to help you guys. You don't know her at all. Doug begins, but Bay covers her ears and hits the group with a piercing shriek that throws them all to the ground. She picks up Doug and begins to flee from the armies and the mutants, and inside of the Citadel, Shogo continues to whine and snort dragonfire, wishing to help his friends, but Saturn IX orders him to behave, continuing to put together her puzzle of Betsy. But if you really want to breathe dragonfire, we can talk, she says with a smile. Outside, Storm has lost sight of Doug as she descends on the group, telling them that the storm cloud is weakening. We are running out of time before nothing holds back the armies of Ameth, she tells the group, and the group continues to fight, holding back the waves of demons. Suddenly arrows fly and pierce the monsters from behind. I'll be damned, Wolverine says with a smile as Jubilee launches forward, behind her a small army of flying archers. Looks like the priestess of the green and I showed up just in time, she says with a smile. Captain Avalon looks at the warriors, questioning whether Saturn IX sent them. She does not send us anywhere. We will fight to protect the Citadel. Your friend told us that the raging storm meant that her friends were fighting for it too, the priestess explains. The group begins to fight towards the Citadel as Jubilee explains that they need Shogo and his dragonfire, but Logan and Brian explains that they can't abandon the grounds, that the waves of demons will wash over the Citadel if they do. The priestesses nod, explaining that they have to leave. If anything happens to me down here, he likes you guys too much already, Jubilee begins to say, but the priestess nods about Shogo. It would be our honor, they say as they're leaving. Jubilee nods as she begins to power up. Let's finish this up. I miss my kid, she whispers. And far from the battle, Bay puts Cypher into the ground. She throws down her weapon as he tries to convince her to take him back to his friends. They both need their help. Come with me. You can come back to Krakoa with me and stay in my place, he tells her as he stands on his tippy toes and he hugs her. As the mutants regroup, it seems that the armies of Ameth are slowing down. Storm is concerned as she turns, but smiles as she sees Bay and Doug returning. Don't shoot! We're friendly! I promise! He calls out as he waves, but the armies begin to circle again. Eyes up, Team Krakoa. Looks like everyone came to get their asses kicked. Logan growls, and the armies part, revealing the champions of Arakko. You smell like puke! Magic says to Pestilence, but Genesis arrives declaring that they have won, that Arakko will take Otherworld, Avalon, and Krakoa. We will erase your name so that you are another failed experiment. All that will remain of Krakoa will be the memory of how easily you were played as pawns, she says. And in the Citadel, Saturn IX places the last piece of the puzzle. The calls go out to every reality, and when the Citadel calls, Captain Britain must answer. Seeing her work complete, Saturn IX stands up with a gasp. No, she whispers as she looks down at the image of Betsy, but a portal opens up and the Captain Britain Corps descends. X of Swords, Destruction. The Captain Britain Corps is reborn, descending upon the battlefield, with Captain Avalon looking up with a smile on his face. My God! Look up, mutants! Look up! He shouts, renewed strength filling his body as he lashes out against the demon hordes with his blade. The Captain Britain Corps has returned! He bellows, and the Corps arrives, joining the battle against the forces of Ameth. Some fight, others fall. They have summoned an army! Summon ours, War. Genesis orders. She lifts her hand and the sign appears in the sky and the summoners approach, gathering together to open a portal, and from it a host of monsters descend upon the battlefield. Okay, that's not good, Ileana whispers, and above them Saturn IX watches the battle. A wounded Cable is brought forward and he questions why she doesn't stop this, and the Queen shakes her head, explaining that none of these events rest on her. Suddenly, Cable isn't listening anymore as Scott's voice rings out in his head. Hang in there, I'm on my way, he tells his son, and in the sword installation, Jean and the Cuckoos redirect the link to magic. So, Captain, I take it things are dire and the weather's looking grim? It ain't great, and honestly, you're cutting it pretty close. I was worried you weren't going to make it, she tells him. Difficult, people. Complicated times. Want to kick the door open for us? Magic smiles, slamming her sword into the ground, energy cracking as she opens a portal above the citadel, revealing a massive sword installation as it descends upon them. From the installation descends a host of Krakoan mutants. "To me, my X-Men!" Jean cries to them, and in seconds the X-Men are in the fight, Rogue punching through the demons while Gambit is throwing his cards, Domino firing guns, letting Luck aid her aim while Moonstar fires her bow, and at the head of the charge, Scott and Jean Grey stand, launching their attacks into the horde of Amenth. But Apocalypse stands against his wife as she drives her blade into his stomach, bringing out blood and a cry of pain. "The fight is all I have left! Annihilation cannot be beaten!" She snarls at him, and he reaches for her, grabbing a hold of her body. "Surrendering is not the same thing as losing. I can heal the breach. I can make us whole," he tells her. And for a second, Genesis seems to waver, but the mask takes a hold of her once more, throwing Apocalypse away, purple lightning cracking through the air as Genesis orders the summoners to bring forth the full darkness of Amenth. Above them, Cable looks down on the battle. He knows that they've lost. "Can you put me down there? If this is how it ends, I want to be with my family," he tells Saturn 9, but she doesn't even look at him. "What card were you dealt, boy?" she asks, and Cable hangs his head as he tells her, "The Fool." "Yes, a fool with a sword, and only a fool would think that that is actually what he's holding," she says, glancing at him. For a moment, Cable ponders this before looking at the blade in his hands. "I am such an idiot," he hisses as he reaches out with the connection, telling Ileana and his parents that he needs them to come get him. In moments, they are all inside of the sword installation, with Scott helping his son as he reaches out with the sword, powering up the station, opening the door to other dimensions that they had sealed not so long ago. As the monsters move forward out of the sword installation, Magic swings her blade, opening up a new portal, allowing the techno monsters to descend upon the battlefield. The creatures move through the summoners in a blur, slashing and killing as they swell forward. Genesis is distracted by these creatures, these monsters that have come out of space and time. She swings her blade, slashing through them, and in a blur of motion, Apocalypse is on her, slamming her into the ground before tearing that mask off of her face. The energy cracks as he bellows, and he fights against that power. Then everyone turns to see this titanic struggle. "Go on, finish it," Saturn 9 whispers from above as Genesis is shocked as she watches her husband place the mask upon his own face. "I am remade! Annihilation! The end of all things!" he rumbles in a dark voice, and Genesis looks at her husband. "Whoever defeats the helm claims the helm. Whoever wears the crown controls the land, and the helm controls them," she whispers, but Apocalypse is struggling against the helm's control. He is fighting it, and the dark voice is speaking through him, telling him that he cannot win this fight, that his will is not strong enough. And finally, Apocalypse straightens, with Genesis looking up, questioning what her husband is doing. "What needs to be done?" he says as he raises his sights to Saturn 9. "Go on!" she calls to him, and the dark voice begins to scream. "No! No!" it bellows. But Apocalypse is in control now. "Do you see me, Saturn 9? Apocalypse, annihilation," he calls to her, and she nods as he falls to his knees. "Then see clearly. I surrender." The helm screams in rage, and Saturn 9 nods, accepting. She mounts Shogo, and the two descend upon the battlefield, the dragon fire burning out, destroying every fabric of reality it touches. She lands before Apocalypse, the helm still bellowing its rage, and she reaches out, taking it from his head. She cannot change it, but she morphs it and shifts it to make it more manageable. It will still be corrupting, but now it won't have dominion over its wielder, she says. She shifts the helm into a scepter and turns to the gathered armies, the contest now over. Otherworld is triumphant, Krakoa survives, and Arakko yields. But she looks at those gathered. Saturn 9 declares that one mutant from each side must leave their land to stay with the enemy. "I demand a show of good faith," she tells them, and she turns to Genesis, asking what mutant she chooses to stand with Arakko. "Can I choose you, my love?" Genesis asks Apocalypse as she takes his hand, and he nods. But he warns her that he is not the same mutant that she left all those years ago. Saturn 9 nods, turning and asking who speaks for Krakoa. Scott steps forward, but Apocalypse stays with him. "In this, I speak for Krakoa. I choose the mutant island of Arakko," he states. Saturnine raises an eyebrow, reminding Apocalypse about the mutants who live on that island, and he nods, drawing a smile from Saturnine. That wasn't in the cards. Well done, Apocalypse, she says, and with a crack of energy, she orders everyone to leave. As everyone does begin to leave, Scott and Jean step up to Apocalypse, asking if there's anything that the mutant would like them to tell the council. Just one thing. I will see you all again one day, Apocalypse says before leaving with his family. With the contest over, things return to some form of normalcy. Jubilee is reunited with Shogo, the sword installation returns to the heavens, and Storm returns the sword to Wakanda, though the trust is broken and cannot be easily returned. The Quiet Council has been broken, the start of the end. In the Citadel, the Captain Britain Corps has been reestablished. Loyal knights to Saturnine, Opal Luna Saturnine, the rightful ruler of Otherworld, long may she reign. And there you have it, the conclusion to the Ten of Swords right here at the Comicstorian channel. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this, but fear not, X-Men is not done here at the channel. We've already started doing all of the House of M side stories. I believe you're getting one this week right now. But now that that is concluded, I thought it'd be fun to jump into some Wolverine storylines, starting with the conclusion to Old Man Logan. We're going to be doing Dead Man Logan right here at the Comicstorian channel. So make sure you stick around, hit that notification bell, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing, because we would love to have you a part of this community right here. And if you want to have a vote as to what is coming up next on the channel, please consider going to our Patreon, patreon.com/comicstorian, where we have the mini producer tier, which allows you to have a direct vote in what is coming out on this channel. Right now, they're debating between Batman Inc. and Scarlet Witch, and you too can be a part of that discussion by going to our Patreon, joining the mini producer tier, getting involved in the vote, or joining us for the discussion on Discord. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I hope you enjoyed Ten of Swords. I know it took forever to come out over here, but there's been a lot of changes happening in the company, and it's causing a lot of delays, so thank you for being patient. With that, we're out, and I'll see you next time right here at Dead Man Logan.